Well. Welcome in to the Baylor Postgame Show here on Sikkim 365. I'm Paul Catalina alongside Garrett Ross. And we are, Garrett, here to talk about a win.
The first time, man. I'm excited.
I mean, the only other time would have been UCF, and we couldn't get on the air then because of unforeseen technical difficulties and obstacles and things that were in our path.
It happens.
But Baylor today very clearly used their bye week well. There are things that they still cannot do. They cannot they're not rushing the passer very well.
Right.
They're not running the ball very well. But today they protected Blake Shapen, which, look, they moved around the offensive line. The Barrington brothers are now at both guards. They're not centers and tackles, which I think is the best move.
Right.
We saw Gavin Byers back out at right tackle, which is where he played most of the year last year. He's still a walk-in penalty.
Yes, he is.
He is absolutely, honestly, he should carry his own flag with him.
Just drop it
Just
out.
go I know.
Every other play, just drop it behind you.
So there's a lot of negatives, but I will tell you, for a team that has been riddled with negatives all year long, and rightfully so, I will credit this coaching staff for, and we should all credit the coaching staff for doing exactly what they should have done in the bye week. And look, first of all, rotating guys on the offensive line was job number one. Finding the best situation. That was a lot better. What they did there, moving Price into center. And he is, Clark Barrington wasn't really, he was like a guard center, clearly more of a guard. And I know that they wanted that experience, but it's, I listened to John and JJ on the way over here, and, just gives him a whole lot more ability to just go be an offensive lineman.
I think the how they described it to me, the best way here, and it was not having to think so much. Just let the play come to you. You just worry about getting in position and blocking. I think having him where he was at to help chip with Dante Corleone was good. I am a little concerned that the team still appears one-dimensional on offense after this week. And it's, I still don't understand how you can't get the run game going, but if they're able to get this keep the passing attack fluent the way it was today, and then you can get the rushing attack going, add some balance to the offense, and I think you can, have some good opportunities. But yeah, I mean, I think just if you look overall, I was really impressed to see Keytron Jackson show up and ball out. They took some shots down the field with him, took advantage of his athleticism. That was the one thing.
Look, there's two differences in this game. One, Baylor, much like the UCF game where they had the scoop and score that started the comeback.
Right.
And watching that play on the replay today, if Caden Jenkins falls down, even if Baylor scores in that drive, I still don't think they have enough time, unless they would have scored on the very next play. They would not have had enough time to do what they did. So they had to get that play. This play, the difference in the game wound up being, to me, and the way that Baylor is able to control it and hold Cincinnati's late push off, was the fumbled kickoff.
Yes.
Which had really nothing to do with Baylor other than Byron Vaughn's being right there when he needed to be and making that play. And there were times where I thought you could give this team that play and they would bobble it just because they were so in their own heads. But there you go. You had that big play that allowed Baylor to get a 2-score lead and keep the distance. No, I knew that this is not a team that's going to completely shut somebody down and ward them off. But if you give them enough space, you can do things. No turnovers, no sacks is a huge, huge thing. And using the tight ends like your running game, they did that a lot today. Used all of them, whether it's Johnson or Dabney or Jake Roberts. That was kind of their running game. Quick passes out to the tight end. I think the tight ends had 8 or 9 catches today. So that's going to have to be part of it because they weren't throwing deep routes to them. It was just short little quick things and seeing if you could get them going. So all those things I think were really, really good. I liked a lot of things I saw. Colton Price played really well at center, I thought. And that's they need to keep They need to keep that where it's going. Young defensive backs, young defensive players, lots of guys getting opportunities. It was certainly shaken up in the bye week because they needed to. And they I don't think that changes any, like, moving forward against a really physical team next week at Iowa State. Who knows what that changes? But at least they didn't, Craig just said they didn't waste time.
No.
They didn't waste time running the ball today. Like, it was just go, see what works. They were very benefited, let's just be honest here, by playing a team in Cincinnati that is
bad.
Is just bad. I mean, that's a bad football team right now. 254-339-1122. Isaiah Hankins really,
Yes.
had a great day. So they did everything when they needed to do it. I was watching the game. I'm not looking at two teams that are, beating most anybody else on their schedule, and
I think overall, and I'm interested to see how this carries over throughout the remainder of the season, but watching how Baylor was so confident in their ability to not even worry about punting for the most part and just constantly go for it on fourth down, even in their own territory at times, which they bit them a couple of times. But overall, I think I'm interested to see, because we've seen last year, right, and even the year before, they've gone for it on fourth down time and time again. That was something they've gotten away from this year. But I'm also interested to see, was that something you want to start implementing, or was that a thing where you see an offense in Cincinnati who is really inept and you have no confidence that they can move the ball on you? So seeing how they approach that going forward is something I'm going to keep an eye on for this Baylor team. But I think overall, really, when you get down to how this game was won, ultimately it was won on special teams by Baylor, given, like you were saying with Hankins, what Vaughns was able to do, and just the way they were able to just constantly go for it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you look at all the things that they are doing, there's nothing they're doing well.
No.
But, for the much maligned coaching staff, they figured out, okay, here's how they're going to have to win. Here's how they're going to have to win games, and they can do that moving forward. Again, Garrett, isn't it so strange? We've been on the air now for 8 minutes.
Yeah.
8 minutes. And
not a
peep. But if they had turned around and lost this game and fallen on their face,
it almost looked like,
which they almost did, we'd lit up right now. And people mad. Look, I would encourage you, if you watch this show, if you are a person who's going to trash the coaches and everything when they lose, give them compliments when they figure out a way to win, which today they did. They figured out a way. I don't know how many times they're going to do that going forward, but they figured out a way today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all that really matters, right? You gotta approach this at this point. To me, if you're a fan, you gotta approach it like the teams approach it, where it's one game at a time. You can't get over your skis and look ahead and start worrying. And I know that naturally you're going to do that. And realistically, when you look at their schedule, it is pretty daunting. You got Houston. I think that's one that's pretty winnable. And I'm interested to see how this team bounces back against a team who has been in the Big 12 before, right? Like, we've seen them have flashes. It was Long Island. Well, that's not. They're awful. And then the two new incoming schools that you've played, how do you hold this up against the people you've seen year in and year out in the Big 12? That's the daunting task I'm still concerned about. But, yeah, you bring up a good point. The coaching staff did what they needed to do this week. They approached everything. They made the necessary adjustments. It wasn't pretty. It worked. You got the win. So you should definitely be thankful for that. You should be appreciative, and you should definitely give them their flowers because they're due.
Yeah. Ohio State and Penn State about to wrap up under a minute now. Penn State falls to Ohio State 20-6.
That was so frustrating.
It was frustrating. You and I both picked Penn State. And I knew,
stupid James Franklin.
You're all white uniforms. I'm just bitter right now. It's the penalties that got them. So you and I both picked them. Elsewhere around the Big 12, Oklahoma State and West Virginia are just underway.
How about UCF, man? UCF went into Norman, gave the Sooners almost all they could handle. I know this is still going.
No, it's over. 39-21. They gave them all they could handle. And, yeah, it just ended. The UCF scored with 1:16 left and missed the 2-point conversion.
Yeah,
So,
I honestly thought that was a game that Oklahoma would just curb stomp them, but I think it just kind of goes, and you mentioned it when we were talking about
trap game.
Yeah, John Rice Plumlee being back is all the difference in the world for UCF as well.
Well, look, their defense, played a lot better today, clearly. Oklahoma, ran the ball okay, but they didn't control the game with a run, and certainly UCF had a chance to win this thing late or tie it late, and didn't. But John Rice Plumlee is a bit of an equalizer. So Timmy McClain is a good athlete, but he's a backup quarterback. John Rice Plumlee is your starter. So that's only 2 games have gone final so far in the Big 12. Texas and Houston is later on. TCU and Kansas State is later on. BYU and Texas Tech later on as well. So,
all right. So, looking at the one glaring positive that Cincinnati was able to have consistently all throughout this game was on the ground. They torched Baylor. Miles Montgomery had the best game of his season so far this year, 10 rushes, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Kiner as well went over the century mark. How do you, if you're Baylor, this defensive line right now, and I know we got a lot of young guys that are in there playing, how do they tighten this up? Because this is a really bad rushing team that was still able to rack up two 100-yard rushers on you.
Yeah, I think that's troubling going forward, especially next week against Iowa State, who's a very powerful and tough team. I think, I don't know how you do it. I think, that's one thing I don't know how you fix in the middle of the season. June Choi, why did it take 6 games to make this crucial change to our O-line? They should have changed the offensive line after Texas State.
Great question.
Great question, and I'm in total agreement with you. I think that after that game where Blake Shapen was under complete duress the entire time, and eventually left the game, injured and was out for the next 2 or 3 games they didn't have him. I absolutely think they should have made that change. But even the best coaches. Sometimes that bye week is what you need to step back, and because you can tell a coach 100 times, like, hey, this isn't working. No, we've seen it work.
Right.
I heard that from Dave Aranda. Like, no, I know it'll work because I've seen them do it. And my question was, I'm glad you have, because we haven't. By the way, Oregon wearing the throwbacks today. Not like those are great looking uniforms. Nothing like the Western Kentucky helmets that. With each.
Yes, those. And did you see the Youngstown State with the penguin?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those are clean.
Yeah, all great stuff there. So Oregon and Wazoo about to kick off here, but look, Baylor's 3-4. Okay, they have 2 more losses to give away if they want to make a bowl game. I say to give away. They have 2 more. If they want a bowl game, they have 2 more oops-a-daisies on the schedule. And oops-a-daisy is not really how this team loses. It's usually, it's kind of over when it starts. So this is the first step to that. Now, next week they have homecoming. They've got an Iowa State team coming in that is super, super physical and really, really good. Keytron Jackson took steps forward this week.
Yes.
I am assuming that TJ Tampa will be locked up on him because he's the bigger wide receiver, although and because they move Monterey Baldwin around a whole lot more. But TJ Tampa, who is probably a top 55 to 60 pick first 2 rounds, I would say maybe even top 40 pick in this upcoming NFL draft as it stands right now. I think TJ Tampa will be on him. Can he take those steps forward, continue to do that? Because he had a really big game. This is the first time that he's really shown his presence throughout an entire game and not fleeting little moments, which is kind of the MO for the Baylor team, is like fleeting little moments and nothing that's consistent. But Keytron Jackson was a factor the entire game today. Went up and won on catches, so that's a big deal. We got one call here. Let's go to I think this is Scott, but we'll see. He's from Waco. Thanks for your call. You're on the postgame show. What's going on?
First of all, I am so glad a win finally occurred after a bad loss to Texas Tech like that. And sure, it came down to the wire, but the defense guy late, stopping. I just think we need to improve on the run defense. And I will appreciate the offensive play calling, try to change it up, because the run game was not going to work against Cincinnati today for the most part. So make your throws kind of like your running game.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and Scott, thanks for your call. Appreciate it. 254-339-1122. Make, whatever you have to do to create, forward momentum, do it. So I think that was good. And Garrett, we're not here to pump sunshine or pump doom. That's not what we do. I just want to say that, you know what? They did use the bye week well. You'd almost wish you had another bye week before you play a team like Iowa State. And Iowa State has fallen into like Matt Campbell's perfect scenario where, because of everything that happened with the gambling controversy and all that in the beginning part of the season, and look, they lost to Ohio. Like, this is not a team that's setting the world on fire, but lately they've gotten hot because I believe that Matt Campbell's gotten them to do exactly what he wants them to do. So they're coming down the pipe next week, and they're very, like I keep saying, they're a very physical team up front on both sides of the ball, and that is Baylor's largest weakness, is that physicality, that they just don't go out and street fight with you. But they did a better job of getting in the defense's way on the offensive line today, at least in passing situations. The run game is still really nothing to carry on about. I did think Dominic Richardson looked healthier.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so that's really good news for Baylor. But I don't. I'm not ready to say like, oh, the running game will be fine just in a couple more weeks.
This just hit me. I'm kind of looking at everybody that was involved today. I was really impressed with Josh Cameron. I think we've seen flashes of him in the past where he's shown that he could do things on offense. He had a really good game. Obviously, all the tight ends. But you remember a couple of weeks ago when all the talk was around moving Jordan Neighbors to the running back position because he could catch the ball out of the backfield? Man, other than I think he was like on a punt return or a kick return once, he wasn't involved. I'd be interested this week to find out, given the scheme and how you drew this offense up, why he wasn't more of a factor in that, as well as, like you mentioned, looking ahead to next week and how Iowa State can lock up Keytron. Hal Presley was their other deep threat factor, and he wasn't even in the game as well. So there's a couple of players that if they run the same style of offense, if you can get them back on the field, as well as the Armani Winfield thing is still a mystery to me. But those are two key factors as well that could come in and make a difference in this style of offense if you can get them on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. And this style of offense is really not even a style.
And it's not perfect. It's not going to work on most
system.
people.
It's kind of just, here are the things that will work.
It's a Band-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll figure out the rest when they can, because they're a wide zone team, and they're still technically a wide zone team, but they didn't have the personnel to really run the wide zone. So here's the other thing. Look, nobody in the Big 12, the way that Cincinnati's playing right now, has any business losing to them.
No.
They really don't. They're not playing well. They had their flashes and their moments, which is a lot like Baylor. And so you saw a 32-29 game of two teams that are almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
Almost exactly the same. And Baylor got that win because, again, Baylor, I know as bad as things have been, had no business losing to Cincinnati. Like, you really watch how Cincinnati's played lately, that's they shouldn't. So, by the way, final in that Ohio State-Penn State game was 20-12. Looks like Penn State got a touchdown all too late.
Yay. Thanks.
In that game. Yeah. Didn't even
Thanks, Nittany Lions.
Didn't even cover. Thanks, guys. Just, look, I'm not trying to just win this pick 'em all in one week that we do, but we only pick 5 games. So
I'm trying to win.
When you miss one, now I'm going 4-1, and it's also bad news for you in getting the punishments back. So there are so many things with this Baylor team that do need to get fixed, and I don't know how many of them you can fix in season. But this was a step in the right direction. The problem is that the next opponent is not Cincinnati. It's Iowa State. We'll see how Houston is in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
After they're going to be kind of up and down. I don't think they're going to, be very close against Texas today, but who knows? And then after that, you've got TCU and Kansas State back-to-back weeks, and
brutal.
those two teams particularly have been a bugaboo for you. TCU, you had them last year and could have ended their dream season, but let them off the hook. And then Kansas State blew Baylor out in a terrible way, which I think that game is that's the game that sent Baylor really into the dumps. Was Kansas State. And then you close out with West Virginia, and the best news for that one is that the home team has won every game in that series. So if you're going to try to get 3 wins, you really need to beat Iowa State, because historically TCU and Kansas State have not been great for you.
No, and I think, honestly, just looking at those two matchups, I think Baylor fares well to me, just thinking against TCU. Just schematically, I think they match up better with TCU, but that's just one where, for whatever reason, Baylor cannot get out of their own heads when it comes to the Frogs. I think Kansas State and their offense, especially the way Avery Johnson, if he can continue the trajectory of his play, that is a terrible matchup, because that is I won't say an elite, but a very, very good and efficient rushing quarterback, which is Baylor's Achilles heel. I think that right now, the Houston game, to me, is very winnable. I think West Virginia is a coin flip, but the TCU one or Iowa State, you're going to have to sneak one of those, because I realistically don't see Baylor matching up well with Kansas State at all.
No, I mean, again, you're like you've got to beat Iowa State. To me, you've got to beat Iowa State if a bowl is really still in consideration for you, because TCU and Kansas State are both on the road, too. And while both the games you've won are on the road,
that's a little different.
They don't win on the road they don't win at home against TCU lately, and they have not really won on the road that often in Manhattan. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Garrett, let's take one break here. Come back, final thoughts, and look ahead to Iowa State. This is the Baylor Postgame Show, Sick'em 365.
Cars priced right, both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533, Chuck Verno at 720 North 64th Street, Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Chuck Verno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation. TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Game Day Live on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, TFNB, your bank for life, Three Nations Brewing Company, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, Edward Jones Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Chuck Furno, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, and Bubba's 33.
All right, final thoughts. Garrett, Baylor wins 32-29 over Cincinnati. For me, I think you've got to kind of keep leaning into what you're doing. You're going to have to find a way to match Iowa State's physicality in a week, but maybe some comfort in a win with some of the new things along the fronts will help with that. Baylor did have a couple guys get banged up today. We'll see how that comes out. Brooks Miller looked like he was in a lot of pain when he got hurt, but we'll see how it works out. And if they're going to beat Iowa State and if they're going to win games moving forward, they're like the two big plays that they've made are not necessarily both of them are the same. They did not cause Timmy McClain to fumble against UCF. He just did it, and they were Johnny on the spot. And they didn't cause anything with the kickoff return other than just being Johnny on the spot. I think when it comes to special teams in particular, they need to be more aggressive to block a punt, block a field goal, do things like that to get quick change plays to build momentum. So against Iowa State, a team that's going to be very fundamentally sound, I think you're going to have to take some risks to make quick change plays this week.
I think for me, 2 things I need to see from Baylor heading into Iowa State are find a way to get more physical up front to be able to stop the rushing attack, because that's something you struggle with, and Iowa State is going to test you. And another thing I need to see from Baylor is you've got to find a way to be more consistent when punching it into the end zone and not relying on your field goal kicker and your offense stutters out in the red zone. I think that's something that's been really detrimental to this team all year long. And those are things that they're going to have to tighten up in general if they want to make this push to get a bowl game.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for, let's see if there's anything left in the chat room that we need to catch up. Let's see. This is from A. Martin. This is a bad team, but depends on several freshmen in many places to be competitive at best. Hall, Franklin, Barrington are big disappointments. Yeah, they got to play better on the defensive line.
Yes.
Like that is the biggest surprise to me over these last couple of years is how that particular unit has gone from elite to slipped.
I would throw another name in there, too, is Garmin Randolph.
Yeah, I like on the Barrington brothers, I want to see how they do at guard moving forward. I think that they're both playing out of position, so we'll see how they do as left guard and right guard moving forward, because today that seemed to be more of their thing.
Yeah, I think Clark had the one false start at the end, but other than that, man, yeah, I think that was hands down his best game of the year. Yeah, they definitely look a lot more comfortable at the guard position. Yeah, just the continuity, I'm glad they finally addressed it. I hate that it took this long for Baylor fans, but the fact that they actually went out and did it, hopefully you can use that as some sense of, pride or something to carry forward.
Yeah, maybe so. We'll see how they do there. All right, that's going to do it for us. For Garrett, Ross, for everybody here at Sikkim 365, thanks for watching. When you do, have a great football Saturday, everybody.